how is everybody? It's Sunday, July 3rd. This is two events that happened in the last few days and last weeks, that the sinking or the imploding of the submarine and the drowning of this migrant uh, ship. I mean, the attention that was given to that submarine and the five rich brats people were with it was an amazing attention from the media. We know exactly what was going on minute by minute. We tried to follow every second of their life. We know their names, we know their backgrounds, we know they passenger paid $250,000 to get into that small ship that has big, probably the SUV going thousands of feet, the deep ocean, so they can watch the Titanic was crushed or sunk in 1912. So it is an adventure by a rich brat, the CEO of that Ocean Gate company, that he defied any scientific community and took that risk and took four people with him. That got a lot of attention. The 700 people on this small ship, a migrant ship that was heading to God knows that crashed or sunk in by the coast of Greece, and nobody came to their rescue. And then the Greece blamed the Italian, and the Italian blamed the Greeks. The Greeks blamed the Italian. The Italian blamed the Greeks, and European Union blamed everybody. Even the Greeks, one of the Greek officials, they said the people don't want to be saved, that they want to be rescued. They want to continue with their journey to Italy. So people, doesn't go well with the image of the cradle of the democracy, that people want to go to, rather take risks to die than landing in Greece. So it is really reflects our fascination of wealthy people, that our modern loyalty and their stories, what they do. They got divorced, they make how much money they make. They took a rocket to space. They want to have kind of a fight in cage together. Our fascination of wealthy people. This is part of our culture, that everybody can make it, everybody can be rich. And also our fascination of technology. We think technology gonna solve our problem, and a plane crash or four rockets or a new innovation in of artificial intelligence or robots or whatever will make front page headlines. By a family social problem and family crash and crimes and police brutality and poverty, probably third or fourth page in our newspaper, and takes second behind in importance, and nobody paid that much attention with it. How many mass shooting in this country since beginning of 2023? How many police killing of young black men since George Floyd. Those is not gonna make the front line, but Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and what they do, what they eat, and how many women they slept with, or they got divorced, and this will get the front lines and the front page, and so society now prone to focus on technology and how technology it's if there is any problem, there is an app for it, and the progress and advancement without human value, progress for sake of progress. Now we have a fully automated McDonald's. We follow that. Driverless car, iPhone, latest iPhone, fighting in a cage. This is all the news. We see it on the front page. So I think that's profoundly was a factor in why the submarine ocean gates got that much attention. I know those people are rich and wealthy and all of that, and those migrants, about 600 people drowned. We don't know their names. We don't know their families. We don't know their dreams. We don't know what actually their life. Were they human? Just numbers. 600 drowned. 600, as opposed to 5 rich brats that want to explore the deep ocean. So, and there's an Arabic saying that goes like this: if you want to die through yourself in the ocean, you'll find yourself fighting to survive. You really don't want to kill yourself, or you want to kill something inside you. And this is a human tragedy that we have. We all have something inside us we want to kill and want to get rid of. Those hundreds of poor migrants, they are looking for a better life in Europe. And those 5 rich brats, they were looking for something, not in the ocean, not to look and see the Titanic, but there is something inside them they want to get rid of. Someone on the top, on Earth, and someone want to do it in the deep sea. Some of the things happening in Europe now, and after killing this young French Algerian kid, things broke up. But it's almost a French spring there. It is really amazing, the hundreds of thousands of people on the street protesting. They cannot be all this just from the Algerian community. There's a lot of things simmering in France beside killing this young man by the police. It's almost like what happened here to George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. Things has history, and not just police brutality that triggered Black Lives Matter here in the country, in the United States. It is a history of racism and denying really the opportunity for African America to strive and grow. So it is really what this killing of Nihal, the young Algerian guy in Paris, the things. But the image and the story of Khalid Said and George Floyd and Nihal, it triggered all this grievance that people piling in, and they cannot express it. So despotic regimes, they have a very a false sense of security when they use the iron hand and the fist to crush people's aspiration and dignity. And eventually, people will just wait for the right minute, right minute to explode. And it reminded me of, I think it was a poetry of a Tunisian poet about tells a story about this small rock that is in a big dam, and he felt he's been ignored. Everybody's paying attention. It's a massive complex of the dam, and that small rock just was insignificant. And one night he's looking at the sky and see how insignificant he is, and he decided to leave the dam that neglected him, that nobody paid him any attention. And when he left, the force of water broke up, and the whole dam was destroyed, and the water was gushing down, taking everything in the front of her. That's what the revolution is. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take this single spark that trigger a bigger revolution. Military coup in Egypt, July 3rd, after June serious, they said the second revolution, which God knows what it was, a pretext to topple the first and only civilian elected president in modern Egyptian history, even the whole history of Egypt. Dr. Morsi, a product of January Revolution and Tahrir Square, elected by the majority of people, not all of them, probably 51%. But however, he was the only and the latest civilian president elected by the Egyptian people, starting a political process. A lot of people had a lot of hope. As incompetent as he was, as incompetent his party, they needed to have their chance, and they came to power through the ballot box, not the bullet box, and they needed to be, changed or by the ballot box too, not by a military coup, a tank led by the Minister of Defense, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that he is now in complete control of Egypt. In the politics, in the public present, he really kind of destroyed the political life in Egypt. Right of assembly. I think the social contract with El-Sisi, as he thinks, or his militia or goons, military group, think to provide security and safety. In return, there is no politics, there is no justice, there is no freedom. There is no economic independence, there's nothing. Only security. Even that he cannot provide. So 10 years of the military coup in Egypt, a lot of reaction, a lot of thinking, hundreds, thousands of people in prison, political oppositions, unexisted in Egypt, non-existed in Egypt, a few outside of Egypt, in Turkey, Qatar, Europe, whatever the case may be. So we're gonna kind of touch on what are the venue, what are the political space of oppositions. Hosam Sokkari, a political activist, journalist, writers, cartoonist, photographer, activist, and about 10 years after the military coup in Egypt, and what became of Egypt now since the military stifled the January 21st, January 25th revolution after 70 years of military rule in Egypt since 52, actually since Muhammad Ali, more than that. Why a military man is running Egypt now after toppling 30 years of dictatorship of Mubarak? Why another military man was chosen by millions of Egyptians once more? What are the political culture in Egypt now? What is the political space that is available to Egyptians after having or mastering one of the most impressive revolutions in modern history, here, world history, not just in Egypt? Why Egypt now is suffering from a political malaise, economic breakdown, the justice system been politicized, freedom of expression unexisted. So what is Egyptian getting in return? What is the Sisi given in return? The people give him they always mandate to get rid of the brotherhood. They give him mandate to start economic recovery, renewal. The second, Muhammad Ali, now running the country. What is he given in return? What are the Egyptians given in return? Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are escaped out of Egypt, thousands more are imprisoned. People can't even think of themselves that are like an Egyptian citizen. They feel like they are been renting the country from the military. So the political climate and landscape in Egypt 10 years after the military coup, and a lot of people talking now about change, and the Sisi cannot sustain this kind of lies and oppression and economic collapse.
اهلا وسهلا.
انت فين يا حسام دلوقتي؟ يعني انت if you can share that, I don't know what is people are looking for everybody now. I don't know what's going on. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, south of Canada. So that everybody should know that. Where are you now? Are you? I thought you were based in Germany at some point.
لا أنا I do travel quite a lot. I was traveling between Germany, Spain, and London. I have lived in London for the past, I don't know, 30 years or so.
Okay.
معظم الوقت أنا في لندن وبسافر كتير الحقيقة.
For work.
أنا دلوقتي my work is not does not bind me to a place. I do work as a consultant, a media relations consultant. I do work with various international agencies, giving them advice on various aspects of connecting with the media, doing interviews, managing difficult situations, and running press conferences and the like. So that's what I do. But I also am very busy with my salon, with my initiative to create a space for people to discuss various topics. and I do various interviews with that. And I also write for some websites. I did write for quite some time for Al Shuruq newspaper and for Al Masri Al-Yawm and for Al Manassa.
Millions of people living outside of Egypt got excited 10 years ago, or maybe 11 years. The revolution, 2011, and then there was hope. There was a space. There was kind of after all these years, almost 70 years of military, gripping the country in all aspects of it. Now we toppled the 30 years of dictator Mubarak and his system, and Morsi with his whatever clans came, and there was hope. And millions of people went back against Morsi. I suppose there is a lot of narrative about June 30th, July 3rd, which is today. This is the 10th anniversary of the military coup. So how Egypt, after 70 years of military dictatorship and military rule, now runs by another military dictatorship? What happened?
You have made quite an interesting review of the past few years. I think we are going through another phase of revision now. I don't know what's happening within the coming months, but as you probably know, there is a national dialogue going on for the time being, and an interesting initiative has started already with the free, I don't know how to call it, Tayar al-Hur, if I'm not wrong. It's a coalition of some public figures and opposition groupings, and I think this probably will introduce new blood to the equation. It is clear to lots of people now that the current situation cannot go on forever, and there is a need to start some real national dialogue, probably, and look into the various issues from the state of openness in the country, the economic situation, and the involvement of different parties in finding a solution for the current crisis, and also the situation of the political activists that are in prison right now. So I think we are coming to a state of change in the coming few months, and I hope it will develop positively.
We've been following this coalition of dialogue, and who's behind all of this? Is the Sisi and the military establishment are forced to do this, or this is pressure from the political for the military establishment, the people who are running this show, on Sisi to try to kind of modify his position a little bit?
Look, I do not present myself as a political writer who has a knowledge of what's happening in the background or in the scenes that other people don't see. I don't see anything else other than what is being published. So I really don't have a comment on this. I wish I know.
You read it, you consult people, you let people know what's events, and I'm sure you have more insight than the average reader or listener.
I may have my views, but I don't claim to have knowledge that I can sort of offer comfortably. I wouldn't venture into saying things that I'm not really sure of or I have no evidence for. So I really don't know anything about what happens in the background. I know some of the public figures that are involved in the dialogues, and I believe many of them have accepted because they see that there is no other way. For the time being, a dialogue is what they see as needed. They do believe that any confrontation might not be for the interests of anyone, and even if the process or even if some of the signs that are surrounding what is happening with that dialogue is not very promising for them, they are adamant that they have to continue because they don't see any other option.
So this is 10 years after the Sisi came to power, and what? How did we get into this? Can you have an insight on that, or?
No, I mean, how did we get into this? I don't know. How did we get into this? Yeah, I mean, you know the progress of the events more than anyone else. I mean, everything is known from the way the Muslim Brotherhood was removed from power to the way that Sisi came to power. I mean, there is nothing secret about it. My involvement in politics has been much more limited for the past few years. I'm more interested for now in wider social issues. This is what I deal with in my public initiative, where I invite people to talk and discuss various taboo topics. If you look at the last interviews that I have been doing with public figures and with scientists and with even a politician and an academic like Amr Hamzawi in the past two episodes of my salon, I was discussing with him various international changes. So for the time being, I'm refraining from engaging in the local politics in Egypt because I think there are probably enough people who are involved in this scene, and they probably can do better than me. My contribution was limited to these articles that I was publishing in Al Masri Al Yom, and then they stopped it, and Shuru, and then stopped after some critique for the central bank at some point in time. I said what I wanted to say about issues like the freedom of speech, like the detention of political activists and all of that stuff. I'm trying to spread awareness more of things like the public spaces that we need to share together. I have been writing a series of articles on, for example, the way all the public spaces have been confiscated, and people now have to pay to go to a park or to walk on the beach. As you know, there is a big project on the River Nile where people will be denied access to the lower part that they are creating now, and they are filling it as usual with coffee shops and restaurants in exactly the same way as they have done with all these bridges that have been built in Cairo and around Egypt. And I think raising public awareness around shared resources like beaches, public squares, and the fact that people need green space, which has been also designated as a right, and there has been specific calculations by the United Nations agencies as to how much space is needed for every individual, and Egypt falls below the minimum, way far below the minimum. So these are the issues that that have been making myself busy with.
Regardless of a space you're going to create, public space, what they're going to do in that space if they are not allowed. If anybody posts something, is in jail or prison. So I think before the space, don't you have to have democracy first, and then you have a space?
It's part and parcel with it. I mean, you will be surprised that urban planning has been very much associated with democratization, and there are some countries that have specific clauses in their constitution about the public spaces and how we should share them and what they should be used for. And I think it goes hand in hand. It's not a separate issue. Your awareness of your rights, of the public space of the country that you are born in, and your right for the resources that everybody should be sharing, is part and parcel of understanding your rights when it comes to freedom of speech, or rights when you talk about political activity or political contribution. So I don't see it as a very separate thing. But on your first remark about people who are living abroad and people who are living in the country, I don't think I can agree fully. I mean, on one hand, I do live between Egypt and other places. I do stay quite a lot of time in London, and I do travel quite a lot in Europe and in other countries. But I do stay for some time in Cairo every now and then. And I can see lots of people who have been outspoken defending people's rights for all these issues that we are talking about, and they live in Egypt, and some of them paid the price, and some of them are still paying the price.
I know the Tahrir Square, and I hate to bring you back to Egypt, which you're not try not to. But Tahrir Square was the biggest symbol of public space that people can go and express their grievances. And look what happened, toppled 30 years of dictatorship. But now Tahrir Square even, been redesigned to deny this access to people. So I agree with you that public space, in a democratic country, is designed to bring people together to kind of share ideas and work. But I haven't been in Tahrir Square after all this changes of reshaping Tahrir Square to deny what happened or won't let what happened in 2011 happen again. So it's not one-sided things, but the people in power also that are trying to deny this public space.
Well, actually, there are different aspects, and probably there are different interests here. And I see that the drive. I mean, you might be right about what's happening in Tahrir Square. It has been redesigned, and the security presence there is always at its height when there is some political events or some important dates like the 25th of January or the 30th of June. But public spaces are not just about political expression. People need public spaces for various things. And as much as I'm not very happy with probably the way Tahrir Square has been redesigned, I was more disappointed when initiatives like El Fanni Midan, art is a square, was stopped. And that was an initiative that started in Abdin, Midan Abdin Square, and from there it went to different squares in Egypt, and it was a very good way of giving people the opportunity to perform art and to create their own shows and to enjoy it for free. And now, if you go to Abdin Square, you will see that the place has been turned into again a space for coffee shops and restaurants and whatever, I don't remember what his name, but it's this liver sandwich places, or Sobia Rahamani or whatever. I mean, you'll find it all over the place. And even if you want to cross the square, you wouldn't be able to do that unless you pay a fee to enter the middle part of the square and to go out from the other side. There are lots of commercial interest behind turning these public spaces into profitable spaces, regardless to people's rights for a place to go with the family to sit in. And you're not much younger than me, and you may remember all these places that we used to go to with our families, in Qanat al-Khairiyya, in Aga Khan. Even the zoo now is being developed, as they say. And I am quite alarmed about the fact that people cannot really breathe in a capital like Cairo or in a place like Alexandria, where all these public spaces are being confiscated and turned into a for-profit revenue generating machine.
Speaking of public space, Occupy Wall Street movement was modeled after Tahrir Square. And I think the founder, people in Canada, actually literally saying they were inspired by what happened in Tahrir Square in 2011. And Occupy the public space is a human rights issue, and a movement spread all over, even here in Minneapolis, which is not huge. The occupied places, plaza, squares, they have their sign. And then what is it now? Nobody hears about it.
Yeah, I think the issue is much bigger than that. It's about the right to express your political views, regardless to whether you're going to express that in a demonstration in Tahrir Square or you express it in a newspaper. The issue that we have now is much bigger than that, because there is a clear lack of tolerance for diversity of views, for the diversity of political opinions, for diversity of political movements. And I think this is one of the issues that is being raised now in the national dialogue, regardless of whether this is going to be fruitful or not. And it's one of the issues that are being brought to the table by this coalition of liberal groups that are joining hands in order to be able to address this issue and others, and make them heard, hopefully for a positive change. But even if we are going to sympathize with the authority about the possibility of abusing public places for demonstrations and political dissent, but they have to create some venues for people to be able to express their views and their political stances, and share their views also about how the economy is going, and help them find a solution for the current situation.
How about the social media as a public space? It seems like everybody now is on their phone and leading a revolution somewhere. How is it different from an actual physical place, street, plaza, or garden or a square?
It's complementary, and fortunately, it is offering people another extension in a virtual environment to be able to express their views. It is not controlled in the same way, even though that it can be abused, because you can see lots of communities that seem to have been created in order to be able to either attack some of the views that and this attack is not only from political parties or from groups that are associated with the establishment, but they are also groups or committees or communities that have been created by fundamentalists in order to address and progress their own issues, and also attack their opponents, or people who call for citizenship and or a citizenship-based relationship rather than a religious affiliation relationship. So it is an extended space. It is extremely useful for the time being, and I think it's there to last, and it's there for people to use in the absence of a physical space that they can use in order to address their issues and express their views.
We see the demonstration now in Paris and France, all over France, and spreading to other European countries, triggered by a police killing of a young Algerian France. Single incident galvanized millions of people. Most of those people, they don't even know who that person is. So now I think the social media played a major role of what bringing people on the street. I know there is a lot of mob and destruction, but how could you bring those millions of people within hours in public spaces?
Yeah, I think I cannot see an analogy, but I can see that the mechanism is similar in the sense that people's awareness of an incident like this is heightened, and the knowledge spreads like fire, and the anger is galvanized, and people move to the streets. So in that sense, there is a similarity. The two incidents are quite different, and what they signify and the root behind each of these incidents is very different. But as you rightly pointed out, social media has played a role in making people aware of these events and in spreading the anger in the absence of clear, honest answers from the authorities.
Now, I think I watched not the whole show of the last show. I think it was Hamza.
Amr Hamzawi.
Hamzawi, and talking about the Chinese model that, as Clinton once said, the economy is stupid. Democracy is very overrated. And is this what we're going with now? Just feed people? And what is the social contract now? People, I'm going to feed you, provide you safety, but there is no freedom of expression or justice or political rights.
It's quite controversial, and I think Amr Hamzawi provided a very interesting insight into what is happening there. You may disagree with him on the analysis. You may disagree with him on how he rates the Chinese achievements on the social front, or how he plays down sometimes probably the importance of individual freedoms in the Chinese society. But that's exactly what I would like to do. I am happy to bring about and expose and discuss ideas that are not common wisdom. That's the point. There is no point in repeating the same ideas that we have discussed 100 times before and we seem to all agree on. I would like to introduce a little bit more disagreement in the public space, because I think this is what matters.
Okay, before we leave you, what are the biggest issue now facing humanity now, or facing us? That you sleep?
Well, to be honest, I mean, you are giving me more than my share
What are the
of insight. But I think the environment is an issue. Artificial intelligence is a big issue. And I also did, maybe a couple of episodes ago, I interviewed a scientist about artificial intelligence. It was a surprise to me to know that in some sense, we are likely to be losing control, because after teaching these neural networks how to behave like a human brain, we are surprised that they are achieving a level of knowledge that we do not know how to explain. And when I started learning about this, I started worrying, because the consequences of that are not known as well. So these are some big issues. The environment, the climate change, artificial intelligence. But one of the biggest issues for me is that the fact that we are lagging behind the whole world in terms of understanding the world. There are lots of things are happening around us, and we are very much focused on very important issues, eminent, urgent issues, but at the same time, they're not really the most important.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy what is important, because I don't know what is important. I'm asking.
Well, at least I enjoyed our chat.
Okay, that is the value of it. Thank you so much, Sam, and enjoy the
Thank
rest
you
of
very
the
much.
day. Thank you.
Pleasure.